Watching on Facebook or wherever you are. It's an odd experience to be here, but we're super happy to be playing. Let me just quickly introduce the band. This is Deszon Claiborne on drums, and Jason Muscat on bass. And so my name's Ken Husbands, and the three of us recorded an album almost a year ago now, right? It's been a while since we actually recorded it. It takes a while to get these things out. So this evening we're getting to celebrate that here and at Mr. Tipples, and we're really grateful that they're providing this opportunity, even though there are no people here and they're closed, but they're very kindly having us play here. So what we're going to do is we're going to play through the album. We're going to play through the songs from the album, and they're going to sound different a year later than they did. They're something similar, but they'll also be different. So that first song was called Leah. I wrote that after meeting somebody named Leah, and I think that song kind of captures her energy pretty well. The next tune we're going to play is called Simple Funk, and this is a tune that I wrote with the idea that it would be easy, that I could just throw the chart in front of the musicians on the gig, and they could play it, but it would still sound like it was something composed. And it ended up getting a little more complicated than that, but it still hopefully has the simple, funky feel. That's the goal. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
One, two, one, two. Simple. Simple, straightforward. So the next tune we're going to play is we're going to slow things down a little bit. We're going to slow things down and play a ballad. It's called Ballad for a Rainy Day. And Jason's going to play us some pretty chords on the bass.
That's why I got to tune my bass. Sure those chords stay in tune.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, that was Ballad for a Rainy Day. You can't tell, but I'm smiling under my mask. It's funny playing music when we can't see each other's faces very well. It's hard to make those communication. But so the next tune we're gonna play is called Soleil Pourri. So this is the title track from the album. And Soleil Pourri, the title comes from an essay by a French philosopher named Georges Bataille. And the short version is that the essay is kind of about the sun and the way in human mythology the sun has been sort of a life-giving force, but then it's also been something that drives people crazy if they focus on it too much. So to me, it's sort of become a metaphor for things in life, people in our lives, things, people, substances, whatever it might be that we get something from it, but then it also is also damaging. So that's where this title's from. This song, I was thinking about the song itself is. There's an attraction about playing crazy rhythms, and it's also dangerous.
Very.
So,
Gonna find out how dangerous
so it works.
is right now.
But so the other thing about this song is there's also a reference in it to another, like a song with sun, another song about sun. So see if you can hear that, catch that as it goes by. All right, are you ready for this?
Oh yeah. Ready for the danger.
Danger, danger.
So I just start on this one now. that was Soleil Pourri, title of the album. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are. I do believe that there is a link for tips if you feel like it. Not at all required, but that is how the band's getting paid tonight. So we appreciate it.
Right over the drummer's head.
Oh, that's where that's where the link is, right over the drummer's head.
That's right, right here.
Yep. Throw it all there. Okay, so that was 4 original tunes in a row, right? And now we're gonna play a standard, a jazz standard, by Miles Davis. So What? This is an arrangement. I've been playing it this way for quite a while, so it's a fun thing for us to stretch out on. So there's one more tune that we recorded on this recording on Soleil Pourri. It's another standard that fits into. There's a little weather theme happening because we had Ballad for the Rainy Day and we had Soleil Pourri, which is about the sun, and now we're gonna do Come Rain or Come Shine. So this is actually an arrangement that I used to play with a singer, a great singer, Susanna Smith. We used to play this a lot. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again. But this is an instrumental version of it. Ready? So we're going to take a short, very short break, and then we'll be right back to play a bit more music. So thanks for listening, and I hope you can stick around.
Hi guys, welcome back to Mr. Tipples. My name is Roger, and we're going to be doing a quick cocktail demonstration for you while the musicians take a quick break. I hope you guys are enjoying the music as much as we are here, and we are just so thrilled to be able to host these shows. And so I wanted to let everybody know here that we at Mr. Tipples are offering cocktail delivery. You can find us on Caviar, Grubhub, and DoorDash. We deliver directly to your home anywhere in San Francisco, and you can contact us anytime from 4:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. to get some cocktails delivered to your door. We also do offer some food as well, so please check that out. And tonight I want to actually talk to you a little bit about some of the drinks that we offer on that menu. But this is going to be more of a behind-the-scenes look at the work that goes into creating some of the drinks. The cocktails themselves, once you do all the legwork behind them, are actually fairly simple to put together, but there is a lot that goes into the creation of them. So we're going to talk about that and hopefully educate you just a little bit about some of the back-end processes to create a real craft cocktail program. So the two drinks that I want to talk about tonight are what we call our herbs and tonic, and then we have our miso maple old fashioned. So both of these are infusions. What that means is that you take a base spirit, it can either be a neutral base spirit, something like vodka or like brandy or grappa, or in the case of the miso maple old fashioned, you could take a whiskey. But what you need to do is you need to have something with a fairly high alcohol content. The reason being, for a lot of things that you would want to infuse the flavors of into your drink, some of them are not actually water soluble. So water soluble would be something like tea or coffee, where hot or cold, what will eventually happen is it will break down the plant matter that make up those solids, and it's going to infuse a lot of that flavor and some of the particulates into your water. But other things, such as, for instance, cinchona bark, are not water soluble. They're only alcohol soluble. So even if you boil the water, you're not really going to be able to pull the flavor out of them. You're not going to be able to pull the particulates into the liquid, but they will do that with alcohol. So when you're looking at trying to make an infusion, if you use something that has too low of an alcohol content, it will take too long, and you really won't be able to pull enough of the flavor in there. That being said, it really takes some time to figure out the correct amount of alcohol that you really want in your base spirit so that you're not pulling out too much of the flavor and that you're not pulling out sort of other elements that you don't necessarily want. So, for instance, if you're making something like a bitter, such as Angostura bitters here, usually you're actually going to want to start with a pretty high alcohol content. And actually, Angostura bitters does have a very high alcohol content. The reason being that you're trying to actually infuse it with flavors that come from very resistant matter. So the types of plants and stuff like that that you're going to be infusing into that product are going to be ones that require very high alcohol content to be able to pull the flavor out of. If you're looking for something with a more mild flavor, you want to use sort of lower alcohol content so that you're not getting a lot of that sort of bitterness. A common example would be something like, let's say, lemon vodka. Now, there's a bunch of different ways that you could do lemon-infused vodka, but the most common way is just to take lemon peels, and you don't want to chop them up too fine. You want to use whole lemon peels or sort of thin strips, but you don't want to really emulsify them or anything like that, because what you want to get is you want to get all of the oils and you want to get all the flavor from the lemon peel, the sort of lemon, sort of citrusy flavor. But what you don't want is you don't want a lot of that bitterness that's going to come out of the pith. If you chop it up too fine and then you try to infuse it into the vodka, you're going to pull all that bitterness out, and it's going to throw off the balance of your drink. So as you can see, these infusions really are a pretty scientific process, and they really take a lot of experimentation to figure out exactly the right way to do them. So I'm just going to talk about the two that we have here and tell you a little bit about what's in them and how we make them, and then we're going to make one drink with these. So I'll start with the miso maple old fashioned. So the miso, so a traditional old fashioned, you're just looking at your whiskey, some Angostura bitters, and some sugar or simple syrup, and that's it. It's a very clean, basic, very boozy drink, super popular all over the world. We wanted to do kind of our own spin on it, and there's a million variations of the old fashioned. So we thought, well, what would go well with this really common drink that's going to add this extra element? And we thought miso is this really complex, nice and savory element, and that's going to add this whole new depth to the drink. And then we thought, well, what about the sweetener? You know, if you want to use something like simple syrup, that's really good if you're looking to just enhance the sort of basic flavors. But if we're already including this other savory element, we want to have something that goes well with that. Maple syrup goes great with anything savory. If you've ever put a little maple syrup on your bacon, delicious together. So we thought, okay, let's do that. More complexity, more depth, and really complements the miso sort of savory element really, really well. So then it came to, well, how do you make that? The maple syrup, pretty simple to make. You do water down the syrup essentially by doing a 50-50 mix of pure maple syrup and water and just kind of heating that up until it dissolves. But the miso is a little more complicated. So if anybody has ever worked with it, you know, you can get it in essentially, I would describe it as sort of like a pummeled consistency. It's like flaky, small particulates, and it's actually very resistant to dissolving in things. So what we do is we use our bourbon, we use a small amount of miso, and then you can use like an immersion blender or some sort of emulsifier, or if you have the gumption, you can just whisk it together really, really hard for a good long time. But you really want to get that miso really broken up into the spirit, and then you have to let it sit for a while. Now, all different infusions take different amounts of time. Most infusions, you're looking at about 3 to 5 days before all of the flavors kind of get absorbed into the alcohol, and you don't end up pulling out whatever the sort of bitterness or like other sort of chlorine elements might be in especially plant matter. For miso, again, it takes a few days, but you basically just let it sit. Eventually, it absorbs a lot of that miso flavor, and then you just filter out the particulates. But what you are going to be left with, as you can kind of see, this is a little cloudy. That's because a small number of the particulates, almost like tannins, just end up staying in the booze. And that's totally fine. It's not enough where it's going to kind of add any sort of graininess to the final product, but it's enough that you want some very, very small particulates in there just to sort of enhance that flavor and make sure that you're really getting that miso flavor out of So that's how we do that one. Next, I want to move on to the herbs and tonic. Now, the idea behind this drink is we wanted to sort of replicate the basic concept of a gin and tonic, but we wanted to do sort of a unique twist on it. We wanted to do something that's actually a little more authentic to what a gin and tonic ought to be. And what I mean by that is, so let's start with gin. So gin is essentially just flavored vodka. Almost all gins start with a base spirit of usually vodka, which again is any sort of neutral grain spirit. Most people think of it as being made with potatoes, but that's actually usually an uncommon way to make it, and the most traditional form of vodka actually came from usually cereal grains such as like sorghum or wheat is pretty common as well. So what does that mean? So you take basically your just sort of sugary liquid that you get from fermenting your grains and stuff like that. You pull all the sugar out of it, you add a bunch of yeast, and it starts to distill. And so you have your alcohol, your ethanol, coming out of this distillate. And if that's all you use, and you basically just add water back into it to get it to the correct proof, that's how you end up with vodka. If you're making gin, you follow mostly the same process, but you want to infuse it with flavors. So they do what's called a vapor infusion. And you'll see on some gin bottles it actually says vapor infused. What that means is that you're flavoring the alcohol by essentially you take a bundle of different sort of herbs and other flavoring elements, and you kind of hang it above where the ethanol is coming up out of your fermenting liquid. And so that's going to infuse the actual steam, the alcohol steam, with the flavors that are in that bundle. And those are called the botanicals, that bundle. Most common for gin, you're going to find juniper berry is by far the most common flavoring element. Not all gins use juniper, but the actual name gin comes from juniper. It was juniper, the Dutch word for it, I think, is Jennifer, and most gins were originally called Jennifers, and then it sort of just got passed down until it became gin. But juniper berry is by no means necessary to create all gin, and there's all sorts of different botanicals that all different places use, which is why every gin tastes a little bit different. So, gin and tonic, probably, for me personally, if I'm at a bar and I don't know anything else about it, I'm probably ordering a gin and tonic because it's delicious, it's refreshing, it's pretty much always good as long as you know you're getting a good gin, and it's basically impossible to mess up. Gin and tonic is wonderful. However, tonic is actually a little bit interesting because the tonic water that you get is not actually real traditional tonic because tonic is actually meant to be made with quina. Now, quina often comes from cinchona bark. Cinchona bark is not water soluble, like we talked about before. So if you really want to get true quina flavor and the actual sort of medicinal qualities that are supposed to be in quina and in tonic, you can't make it with just water. You have to make it with alcohol. So a traditional gin and tonic was actually gin that they used a cinchona infusion in, and then you could add sort of seltzer water or whatever later. But the original version did just use gin and the cinchona bark to create that infusion. So we wanted to sort of replicate that idea with the herbs and tonic. This starts as vodka, and then we do just a regular liquid infusion. So we add thyme, basil, mint, rosemary, lemon and grapefruit peels. We add some juniper berries to really replicate that gin flavor, and then we add the cinchona bark ourselves. And so what you're getting out of that is very, very similar to the flavor profile of gin. It's a little bit different because it's not vapor infused, so you're kind of getting stronger flavoring elements out of it because you are adding it directly to the liquid. And you let that sit for, again, like 3 to 5 days. Kind of depends on the ratios and the amounts you're using and stuff, but that's a good kind of benchmark. And then after that, you have your cocktail ready to go. So again, it requires a little bit of legwork beforehand, but once you have it ready, it's a really simple process to put together. So the preferred serving method that I like for this is something called a highball, and that's basically just, you're going to do it in what's called a highball glass, tall glass like this, and it's just ice, a little bit of seltzer water, and your cocktail. I can actually take this opportunity to talk to you just a little bit about why it is called a highball. It's kind of an interesting story. It actually comes from, I'll do it real quick, but it actually comes from sort of dining car train nomenclature. A highball was basically the notification that you were good to go. It was actually like a specific signal that they would send to say that the track was clear and that you were ready to depart. Once the track becomes clear, you're allowed to get up out of your seat and you go to the dining car. And in the dining car, they will serve you a nice drink. And it became known as your highball. You're good to go. So I'm going to take a lemon peel, just do that as our little garnish, and I like to spritz it with the shiny side down over top of the drink, and that just releases some of that oil and gives you a little bit extra sort of lemon flavor. I'm going to take our straw, and we are ready to go. We got your herbs and tonic highball. Again, very similar to a gin and tonic, but actually somewhat closer to the traditional version of that drink. Cheers. All right, let's get back to the music.
Thank you. So that one, the first set we played through the whole album, the new album, Soleil Pourri. Now we're playing just a few tunes that we enjoy playing together, live, whenever that happens again. But that one there was an original called East Coast Groupings. That was from my last CD, which was called Keeping It Going. So yeah, that was East Coast Groupings. I do just want to remind you there is a link for tips, and that's very much appreciated. There are two links, I guess. There's PayPal and Venmo.
And use both of them in ample amounts.
And they use both of them in ample amounts, has been suggested here. So anyway, but thank you just for listening, and thank you again to Mr. Tipples for having us here, because they don't have to be doing this.
No.
They're just keeping the music alive, and
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
it's very appreciated. So
Indeed.
thank you, Jay, and thank you, Roger, who are here running. They're the only other people in this room, other than the three of us. All right, now we're gonna play a Brazilian tune called A Felicidade. Happiness. What are we doing next? Then we're gonna do, the next tune we're gonna do is something you might recognize. People Make the World Go Round. Lots of people have played this one, but not quite like we do. Nice bass solo. That was excellent. All right, we're going to play one more. One more. So yeah, the tip link is there. This is, thank you for joining us. This is we're celebrating the recording Soleil Pourri that we did almost a year ago. We recorded in the studio, but we just managed to release it a month or two ago. So You can check that out on any major streaming place. You can also download it through Bandcamp, or just my website also works. Again, you're listening to Jason Muscat on bass and Deszon Claiborne on drums. And it's been a super honor and a pleasure for me to be playing with these guys. We've been missing it. It's been a while.
Wow.
In current situation, but it's a lot of fun. All right, this is one of our favorite tunes to play. We pretty much play at every gig, I think. So Mike Stern tune. Because when we first started playing together, yeah, this was one of the first tunes that we played, and it was so much fun. So yeah, it's called Chromosome by Mike Stern. That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Good night.